I never imagined that folding laundry on a quiet Tuesday evening in our modest ranch-style home in Sedona, Arizona, would mark the beginning of the end, or maybe a new beginning, for my marriage. The red rock canyons outside our window glowed under the setting sun, a view I'd come to love since moving to the Southwest 3 years ago. But inside, the air felt heavy as I overheard Jack's voice from the living room, where he paced with his phone glued to his ear.
Nah,
Rick, I'll be flying solo to the gala, Jack said in that smooth, professional drawl he saved for his boss. My wife,
well,
she's not exactly cut from the same cloth as folks like you. You get what I'm saying. My hands froze mid-fold on one of his flannel shirts. 3 years of building a life together. And this was how he saw me? Plain old Emily, the girl from the local bookstore. Not worthy of rubbing elbows with the high rollers. Look, it's better this way, Jack continued, chuckling like it was no big deal. She's sweet as pie, but real down-to-earth. Works at that little indie bookshop downtown. Picks up her outfits at flea markets. You know the drill, not exactly Red Rock Elite Club material. I'd hate for things to get awkward. The Red Rock Elite Club. The name hit me like a dust storm, though Jack had no clue why.
to him.
I was just Emily, the simple gal he'd married back when he was scraping by as a junior real estate developer. I shook off the sting and kept folding, steadying my breath as he wrapped up the call. When Jack sauntered into the bedroom, fiddling with his BOLO tie, he acted like nothing had happened. How was your day, darlin'? I asked, keeping my voice as warm as the Arizona sun. Same old grind, deals, deadlines. You name it, he replied, not even meeting my eyes. Hey, got this big shindig coming up this weekend. Real upscale thing. Might be home late. The Red Rock Elite Gala? I said softly. His head snapped up, eyes narrowing like a coyote spotting prey. How'd you know about that? Overheard you on the phone, I admitted. You weren't exactly keeping it hush-hush. His face twisted, first panic, then that irritated look I'd seen more often lately. Emily, listen, he said, sitting on the bed's edge like he was breaking bad news to a kid. This event's huge for my career. These are big-time players, oil tycoons, tech moguls, the works. Rick Montgomery's hosting with his wife, Laura, and they run in circles that expect a certain polish. What kind of polish? I pressed, though I knew damn well.
He sighed,
Raking a hand through his sun-bleached hair. Folks who know their way around fine bourbon, modern art, designer labels. Ivy League grads who summer in Aspen. You're great. Really, but slinging books at that shop? Thrift store finds? You've probably never stepped into a Michelin star spot. His words landed like punches. Not because they were false. I'd chosen this low-key life on purpose, but because of the shame dripping from his tone. I get it, I said quietly. Don't get me wrong, he went on, his voice turning all patronizing. This is just smart business. These people size you up, your clothes, your chit-chat, your roots. I can't risk them second-guessing my chops because of, well, who I hitched my wagon to. The room went silent, a chasm opening between us. Jack watched me, probably bracing for tears or a blow-up. Instead, I stacked the shirt neatly. You're right, I said. I wouldn't want to cramp your style. Relief flooded his face. Knew you'd see reason. You're always level-headed about the big stuff. Sure thing, I agreed. I'll stay in my lane. He looked a tad uneasy hearing his words echoed back, but nodded. This is temporary.
Eminencia.
Once I nail this promotion, we'll level up. I gave him my practice smile. Whatever floats your boat, Jack. He planted a quick peck on my forehead, like I was a good little wife, and headed for the shower. The second the water kicked on, I dialed a number I'd kept buried for months. Hayes Legal Group, answered a crisp voice. Grace. It's Emily Hayes. Patch me through to Tom.
Pronto.
Right away. Miss Hayes. Tom's voice came on, laced with concern. Emily?
Been a while.
Everything okay? Not exactly. Tom, I whispered, double-checking the shower noise. But it's time. Time for what? I glanced around our cozy home, the thrift store couch. The simple life I'd crafted while chasing real love. Time to step back into the saddle. Reclaim what's mine. I've been waiting for this. What do you need? Set up an emergency board meet for tomorrow.
And Tom.
Transfer full ownership of the Red Rock Elite Club to me by Friday.
Done.
Anything else? Jack's off-key humming floated from the bathroom, likely daydreaming about schmoozing the elite without his ordinary wife. Yeah, I said. It's high time Jack learned who he really married. 3 years back, I was nursing a coffee at Dusty Trails Cafe in downtown Sedona, picking the most unpretentious spot I could find. I'd just hit 25 and decided to flip my life upside down. I wanted normalcy, something my mom,
Victoria Hayes.
never got. The Hayes Holdings empire was mine after her passing, but I craved love that wasn't tainted by dollar signs. So I leased a tiny bungalow, snagged a gig at Canyon Books, and blended into the crowd. That morning, buried in a dog-eared novel, Jack strolled in frazzled, phone in hand. His jeans were clean but worn,
Boots scuffed from job sites.
He grabbed a black coffee and plopped at the next table, poring over blueprints. Rough start, I asked when he knocked over his mug for the second time. He looked up, hazel eyes tired but kind. You could say that. Big pitch today. And my truck's acting up. What kind of pitch? Real estate development. He grinned sheepishly, trying to convince investors I'm not just some small-town kid. There was a humility there, a drive that wasn't flashy. No entitlement like the trust fund types I'd dodged. He seemed real. Jack Thompson, he said, offering a hand. Emily, I replied, skipping the last name. That sparked coffee chats. Then hikes in the canyons. Then dinners at hole-in-the-wall spots. Jack charmed me with his stories of growing up in rural Nevada, parents' ranch hands, scraping by, full ride to state college on grit alone. He dreamed big but grounded, wanting to build communities,
Not just bank accounts.
I envied his roots, his hustle. For months, it felt perfect. He brought wildflowers from trails. We stargazed on clear nights. And he dug my book recommendations without prying into my why for retail work. The first hint of trouble came 8 months in. Jack scored a bump at work and wanted to celebrate at a swanky steakhouse. Wear that sundress, the classy one, he suggested. Classier than what? Than your everyday vibe, he backpedaled. Not that it's bad, but this place is fancy. I wore it, but dinner fell off. He fidgeted with the wine list, picking something pricey he couldn't swing easy. This is the life, he said, eyeing other tables. But it wasn't about us, it was him chasing an image. After tying the knot, things snowballed. Promotions rolled in, and so did his gripes about our simple setup. Don't you want more? He'd ask, waving at our bungalow. More than what? Then average. The irony? I could deliver his more with one call, but that'd ruin the point. I'd fallen for the guy who picked trail flowers, not a status chaser. When invites to ritzy events started, he'd go solo. Easier that way, he'd say. You're not into that scene. He was right. I hated watching him morph into someone ashamed of me. But those scenes, I'd own the joint soon enough. The Hayes empire started with my great-grandpa's dude ranch in the 1920s. But Mom turned it into a beast. Luxury resorts across the West. High-end eateries with waitlists. And exclusive clubs where memberships cost a fortune. The Red Rock Elite Club was her pride, a sprawling oasis in Sedona's canyons. Bought in 2018 and revamped into the Southwest's top spot for the wealthy. Only 50 spots, each coughing up $500,000 yearly. Jack's boss, Rick Montgomery, waited 2 years for approval. Mom greenlit it herself. I grew up amid deal-making and desert sunsets, learning contracts before long division. Mom prepped me to lead, but warned of wealth's loneliness. Money warps views. Emily, she said before cancer claimed her. Folks want your wallet or fear your power. Rare ones see you. She passed when I was 23, leaving me a $12 billion juggernaut. The board, headed by Tom Reynolds, ran things while I soul-searched. No rush, Tom advised post-funeral. You're set whenever. But I wasn't ready for Emily Hayes. Billionaire. I craved authenticity. Tom and I set up trusts to shield my name, calling it a personal sabbatical. I picked Sedona, far from boardrooms, close to nature. Bungalow under my middle name. Clark. Job at Canyon Books, no deep dives needed. For 2 years, I pinched pennies, haggled at markets, felt the pinch of bills. Liberating. Scary. Real. Meeting Jack felt like fate. He loved Emily the clerk, not the heiress.
Year 1 bliss.
Kind. Driven. Team player. But success unveiled cracks. Or maybe truths. Promotions fed his status hunger. The trailflower guy nagged my wardrobe for networking nights. Cruel twist. I could have quashed his worries instantly. Red Rock.
Mine.
His idols? Paying guests in my sandbox. Rick Montgomery? His app letter kissed up to me for entry, fees funded club charities. That Tuesday. Post-shower hums. I dialed Tom again. Activate protocols, I said. You sure? No undoing this. My quiet life's toast. Full Red Rock control to me by Friday, no trusts. Questions will fly. Members will probe ownership shift.
Latching.
Board meet tomorrow. Review members. Events. Gala Saturday. Rick's tabling. Perfect. Time I crash my own party. Tom paused. Planning a showdown? Our bungalow symbolized my love quest. Honest. Unvarnished. Jack deemed it, and me subpar. Giving him his dream wife, I said. One who fits his elite mold. Then we'll see if he handles the heat. Wednesday dawned with that crisp desert chill. Possibilities crackling like campfire embers. Jack rushed out, muttering about meetings and drinks with Rick. Late night likely, he said, barely glancing my way. Knock am dead, I replied. Sipping coffee, I wouldn't finish. He hesitated at the door, maybe sensing something, then bolted. I drove to Hayes Holdings' discreet Sedona office. Heart pounding. The board waited, faces a mix of relief and worry. Emily, Tom said, hugging me. Welcome back. We dove in, financials solid, expansions humming. Red Rock's list read like a who's who. Rick. Laura. Tech barons. Oil heirs. Gala prep. Full swing, 120 heads. Black tie. I nodded. I'll attend as owner. Murmurs rippled. Reveal time? A director asked. Overdue, I said. But first, dig on key members. Discreetly. Reports trickled in. Rick under IRS scrutiny for shady deductions. Laura siphoning charity funds. Their crew? A Harriser CEO. A slumlord developer. Jack's idols, flawed as anyone, propped by facades. Worse, Jack's whispers at work about upgrading his life. Eyeing divorce. She's great, but not advancing material, he'd said. Pain sliced deep, but clarified, this wasn't petty revenge. It was reclaiming self-worth from a poisoned well. Thanks, I told Tom. Makes Saturday easier. Home. I prepped quietly. Jack returned late, reeking of bourbon, buzzing about connections. Big things coming, he grinned. I smiled. Can't wait. Thursday. Stylists arrived covertly. I transformed, hair in loose waves, makeup enhancing my features. Dress fittings for a custom gown, emerald silk, nodding to dessert jewels. Jewelry, mom's sapphires, heirlooms worth fortunes. Friday. Ownership transferred legally, ironclad, per Arizona statutes. No loopholes, my name bold on deeds. Board approved unanimously. You're set, Tom said. But Emily, think hard. This changes everything. It already has. Saturday hummed with energy. Jack headed to a barber for exec grooming. I slipped to Red Rock's owner suite, mom's old haven, overlooking canyons. Miss Hayes. Ready, stylist Vivian asked. 2 hours later. The mirror showed a powerhouse, poised, radiant, true self. You echo Victoria, Vivian whispered. Proud moment. Windows revealed arrivals. Lumbos. Bentleys. Rick's Escalade pulled up. Guest count, 120, manager Patricia reported. Jack's here, fidgety. Pity flickered, but faded. Tom entered with final dossiers. Sure about these? Folders revealed more dirt. Bribes.
Frauds.
Jack's elite. House of Cards. And his divorce chatter confirmed betrayal.
Needed this, I said.
Freeze me. At 8 sharp, I descended the grand staircase. Red Rock gleamed. Adobe walls. Crystal lights. Saguaro centerpieces. Elite mingled. Deals whispered over champagne. Ladies, gentlemen, the manager boomed. Welcome Red Rock Elite's owner, Miss Emily Hayes. Silence crashed. Heads turned shock.
Awe.
But I locked on Jack at Rick's table. Mid-laugh. His glass shattered. Face draining color. Rick gaped. Laura blanched. I glided down. Crowd parting. Evening. All, I said. Enjoying my club? Emphasis on my landed. Whispers erupted as truths dawned. Jack stammered. Emily. I smiled.
Surprise.
Honey. The ballroom hung in suspended animation. The shatter of Jack's glass echoing like a gunshot in the vast, adobe-walled space. Portland might have its rainy sophistication, but here in Sedona's Red Rock Elite, under the warm glow of wrought iron chandeliers, the drama felt as raw and expansive as the canyons outside. 120 of the Southwest's power players, ranch owners, venture capitalists, Hollywood escapees, stood frozen, their designer outfits and diamond cufflinks suddenly seeming like costumes in a play gone off script. Jack remained glued to his seat at Rick's prime table, his face a whirlwind of emotions, disbelief melting into horror, then a desperate flicker of calculation. His mouth worked soundlessly before words tumbled out.
This
can't be real, he croaked, voice barely carrying over the hush. Can it? I replied, stepping closer with the steady poise Mom had drilled into me during childhood galas.
I'm Emily Hayes,
owner of Red Rock Elite. And yes, your wife. Rick Montgomery bolted up, nearly toppling his chair in the scramble. The man who'd built his fortune flipping desert properties, now looked like he'd swallowed a scorpion. "Miss Hayes," he stammered. I had no earthly idea. Jack never mentioned that he married the boss of the club you're all dying to impress? I finished coolly.
No.
He wouldn't. He's been real careful keeping his ordinary wife under wraps. Laura Montgomery's perfectly Botoxed face drained of color. Just last month, she'd been overheard at a spa day dismissing small-town spouses as dead weight in elite circles.
Now.
She faced the woman whose empire dwarfed her husband's shady deals. "Mrs. Thompson," she ventured, voice quivering like a leaf in a monsoon. "We've heard such wonderful things. Have you now?" I arched a brow. "Funny, because Jack here painted me as too folksy for y'all.
Bookstore job.
Flea market threads, not gala-worthy." A gasp rippled through nearby tables. In the West's high society, where reputations rose and fell like stock prices, public takedowns were gold. Folks leaned in, phones discreetly angled. No doubt this would hit private chats by dawn. Jack finally stood, knees wobbling like a newborn colt. "Emily, we gotta talk. Private-like. This is all twisted." Twisted. My calm cracked just a hair, anger simmering beneath. "You told Rick I didn't measure up to his standing. You've been solo at these hoedowns because you're embarrassed by your wife, the one slinging paperbacks while you're chasing the big leagues. Or how about whispering to coworkers that I'm dragging you down? That divorce might free you?" The divorce bomb detonated whispers into murmurs. Eyes darted. Rick to Laura. Guests to each other, like vultures circling fresh drama. "You don't get the pressure," Jack pleaded, voice pitching up. "These folks demand a certain image. These folks," I swept a hand around, "are my guests. They pay through the nose to play in my sandbox. $500,000 initiation, plus dues that could buy a ranch." Rick turned greener than cactus. As a recent inductee, he'd forked over fortunes to me, unknowingly. Laura clutched her pearls.
Literally.
"Miss Hayes," Rick whispered, "if we'd known."
What?
"Treated me like royalty because of my checkbook? Value my 2 cents if you knew I could snap up your firm like a roadside souvenir?" The question lingered like smoke from a bonfire, making the room squirm. How many here had snubbed folks based on surface shine? Jack reached out, hand trembling. "Please, this ain't the place." "You made it the place," I shot back. "When you badmouthed me to fit in. When you lived high on the hog, griping about my simple ways while plotting your exit." Silence thickened. This wasn't just marital spat, it was a mirror to their world. Fake fronts. Hollow climbs. "The kicker, Jack," I continued, "is you've spent years scrambling up a ladder I own. Desperate to wow people who rent space from me. Ashamed of a wife who could have handed you the stars if you'd loved her for real." His shoulders slumped, the weight crushing. Not just losing me, his job, status, all teetering. "What do you want?" he rasped. I studied him, the man I'd bet everything on. Understanding that you had gold and tossed it for fool's gold. But as the crowd watched, something shifted in me. This wasn't pure payback. The reports on Rick's crew, the frauds, the cheats, reminded me everyone's flawed. Mom's words echoed. Wealth isolates, but humanity connects. Maybe Jack deserved a lesson, not destruction. "Folks," I addressed the room, voice softening. "This ain't about dragging anyone through the mud. It's about truth. We all chase images, me included, hiding who I am. But real worth? It's in character, not checkbooks." Murmurs turned thoughtful. A few nods. Jack's eyes welled.
Ink.
"I screwed up. Bad. But I love you, the real you. Do you? I asked. Gentler. The bookstore girl. Or the heiress. Both.
All.
I got lost in the chase. Rick cleared his throat. Miss Hayes. Perhaps a recess. No, I said. But maybe a reset. I pulled an envelope, not divorce papers. But something else. Jack. This is a proposal. Counseling. Transparency. We rebuild or part clean. Your call. The room exhaled. No bloodbath, a bridge. Jack took it, eyes wide. I want to try. As applause trickled, surprised, approving, I felt lighter. Redemption over revenge. The envelope in Jack's hand seemed to pulse with possibility. A far cry from the scorched earth ending I'd first envisioned. The Red Rock Elite's ballroom, with its terracotta tiles and panoramic canyon views, felt less like a battlefield and more like a confessional under the soft desert twilight filtering through massive windows. The crowd still rapped, but now with a hint of introspection, watched as Jack opened it, his fingers unsteady. Inside wasn't dissolution, it was a roadmap. Couples therapy with Dr. Elena Vasquez in Phoenix, I explained quietly, loud enough for nearby ears. Full disclosure on both sides, my empire, your ambitions, and a prenup addendum, per Arizona law, protecting us both if we can't mend fences. No games, just honesty. Jack's eyes scanned the pages, surprise giving way to tentative hope. You're giving me a shot. Us, I corrected. But on real terms. No more hiding for either of us. Rick, sensing the tide turn, piped up awkwardly. That's mighty generous. Miss Hayes. Jack's a good egg. Deep down. Laura nodded vigorously, her earlier pallor replaced by opportunistic warmth. But I wasn't buying their flip. Generous? Maybe. But let's be clear, this club's about more than fat wallets. Mom built it for community. Charity. Your membership? It's probationary now. Clean up those IRS clouds. Rick. Or find another playground. Gasps again. But approving ones. A tech mogul in the back clapped slowly. Others joined. Transparency rippled outward. Jack set the envelope down, stepping closer.
Ink.
I was a fool. Chasing shadows in these canyons instead of seeing the real treasure at home. Poetic, but sincere, his eyes, wet and raw, echoed the guy I'd met at that cafe. Prove it, I said. Starting now, the gala resumed, but transformed. Conversations shifted from deals to reflections, folks sharing their own climb stories, vulnerabilities peeking through polished veneers. Jack and I slipped to a quiet alcove overlooking the red rocks. How'd we get here? He asked, voice thick. You tell me, I replied. I gave up billions for authenticity. You chase status like it was water in the desert. He hung his head. Grew up with nothing, parents scraping by on ranch work. Thought success meant looking the part. Forgot it starts inside. We talked, really talked for hours. His fears. My deceptions. By midnight, as stars blanketed the sky, we agreed. Therapy weekly. No solo events. Joint decisions on the empire's role in our life. I want to earn your trust, he said. And maybe help with those charities, use my development skills for good. Weeks blurred into months.
Dr.
Vasquez's sessions peeled layers, Jack's insecurity from humble roots, my fear of gold diggers from Mom's warnings. We hiked canyons, rediscovering the simple joys. Jack quit Rick's firm, toxic as quicksand, starting his own ethical development company, focusing on affordable housing in the Southwest. I integrated him into Hayes Holdings gradually, his input fresh and grounded. Red Rock evolved too. I revamped memberships, merit-based, with community service mandates.
Rick?
He cleaned house, donated to causes, kept his spot.
Barely.
Laura volunteered at shelters, finding purpose beyond luncheons. 1 year on, at our vow renewal under Sedona's vortexes, Jack whispered, "You're my rock, plain or polished." I smiled. "And you're mine, lessons learned." The phone call that shattered illusions led not to ruin, but renewal. In the West's vast openness, we found space to grow, together. But life wasn't all sunsets. Challenges lingered, board pushback on my softer approach, Jack's occasional status slips. Yet we faced them head-on, tools from therapy sharpening our bond. A pivotal moment came 6 months post-gala. Jack landed a big project, eco-resorts in Utah. "This could put us on the map," he beamed. "Us," I teased. "Or you." He paused, then laughed.
Us.
"But only if it aligns with Hayes' values." We vetted it together, sustainable, community-focused. Success followed, but shared. I dove deeper into philanthropy, using the empire for good, scholarships for rural kids. Like Jack once was, conservation in the canyons. He joined boards, his hustle channeling positively. Friends marveled at our turnaround. "How'd you forgive?" one asked. "Didn't forget," I said, but chose growth over grudge. Everyone deserves a second act in this big country. Jack's transformation shone brightest at a family barbecue, his parents visiting from Nevada. No pretenses, just grilling under stars. Stories flowing. "Proud of you,"
Son, his dad said.
"for building real." Jack squeezed my hand. "Couldn't without her." As for me, reclaiming my name freed me. But love, authentic, tested, anchored me. The West taught that storms pass, rocks endure. Looking back, that Tuesday phone call wasn't destruction's harbinger, but a wake-up call echoing through Sedona's red valleys. It forced us to confront facades we'd both built, mine of simplicity, Jack's of aspiration. In the end, it forged something stronger, laced with humanity and hard-won wisdom. Our renewed life bloomed in unexpected ways. We traded the bungalow for a modest ranch, spacious but unflashy, with views that reminded us of humble starts. Jack's company thrived, partnering with Hayes on projects blending luxury and accessibility, glamping sites for underprivileged families, preserving native lands. "This is success," he'd say, watching kids explore canyons we'd protected. Therapy evolved into a habit, not crisis control.
Dr.
Vasquez became a friend, her insights guiding us through bumps, like when Jack's old insecurities flared at a Hayes gala.
Veramin.
"We're in this together." He'd nod, and we'd navigate as a team. The Red Rock Elite transformed into a hub for positive change. Annual galas now fundraised for Southwest causes, water rights, education. Members volunteered, shedding snobbery for substance. Rick and Laura? They adapted. Or left. Rick faced his IRS woes head-on. Emerging humbler, Laura founded a nonprofit for women's shelters. Personal growth deepened. I authored a memoir, anonymized at first, sharing my sabbatical story. It hit shelves at Canyon Books, where I still volunteered. Readers connected. "Your tales showed me value beyond wealth." Jack contributed chapters on his side, turning vulnerability into inspiration. Challenges persisted, media scrutiny post-reveal. Family dynamics shifting with my status known. Jack's folks adjusted. Proud, but wary of the spotlight. Keep it real, his mom advised. We did, hosting simple holidays amid the opulence. A year after renewal, we welcomed a daughter, Lily. After desert blooms, parenthood amplified lessons. Teach her grit over gold. Love over labels. Jack, diaper bag in hand, was a far cry from the status chaser. She's our real legacy, he'd say, eyes soft. The broader impact? Ripples across circles. Friends sought therapy. Businesses adopted ethical models. In the West's pioneer spirit, we proved reinvention possible. If there's a gentle lesson, it's this: betrayal hurts, but can birth better. Judge less on surfaces, more on souls. Chase dreams, but not at love's expense.
In vast landscapes,
There's room for second chances, if you're willing to trek the path.
Jack and I,
Stargazing on our porch, often reflect. That call, he muses. Best worst thing ever. I smile. Let us home. And in that home, built on truth, not illusions, we thrive.